That's impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
That's very
Nothing like
cool.
your internet having a moment there while you're in the middle of that, like, wait.
Did you know when I go on StreamYards, right? I'll click live and I let it sit for 5 seconds and then I play the video because I notice it always stutters at the beginning when I do my intro too. So that's a great video, man. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it's when I was doing it, I've had to redo that video at least 4 or 5 times because I'm horrible at editing. It's like
Okay.
you could tell me to go edit something and the world depended on it, the world would probably die. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean
I'm
that's fair.
terrible at it.
You know,
It's
I don't like it either. Uh, doing what we do, you kind of have to wear every hat, right? So
yeah.
I would say the whole process editing is my least favorite of all of it. But so I'm kind of with you there.
All right. So thanks for being here. I
Oh,
appreciate you
you're
coming.
welcome. Thanks,
So
Aaron,
we're
for
going to
having
start
me.
off with a little thing. This is based on comedian Don McMillan. This is the Myers-Briggs Geek Nerd Dork version. We're going to find out where Jay thinks he fits on the spectrum. So, if you have a high IQ and you're socially awkward, you fall into the dork category. If you're obsessive and you're socially awkward, you're probably going to be a stalker. If you have a high IQ and you're obsessed, you're likely a geek.
Uh,
And if you're all three, you have a high IQ, you're socially awkward, and you're obsessed, you probably are a nerd. Now, to move from dork to nerd, all you have to do is find an obsession. To move from geek to nerd, all you have to do is become socially awkward. I'm not sure how that works. I guess you could just stop talking to people for a while. I don't know.
right, right,
Go
right.
isolate yourself like Tom Hanks in Castaway, come back a little socially awkward. It's okay. It's fine. And then to go from the stalker to the nerd, you kind of got to work on your brain. So
Yeah, okay, okay.
you see how that works? So where does
Yeah.
Jay think he fits on this spectrum of geek, nerd, dorkness?
Okay, well, to start off, like I pick a couple of them. Is that what we
You
do?
can pick off whatever you think fits you best. That's the way
Obsessive,
personality tests work.
obsessive, 100%, 100%. And I'm sure I speak for a lot of people in the toy, video game, whatever other nerd hobbies that you're into. Obsessive, 100%. When I get into something, I dive full on and it just kind of takes over for a long time. I've always been that way as a kid. Uh so that I'm not socially awkward. I'm not a stalker. No, I would say, and I don't really think I have a high IQ, man. So maybe I'm just obsessive. Let's just leave it at that.
You're just obsessed by yourself in the
Oh,
corner.
okay. I have a my IQ is better than average if we're talking about toys, music, and video games. Other than that, I don't know. Where's Australia on the map, dude? I don't know. Somewhere over there. Like, there you
It
go.
just it's wherever it is, right?
Yeah.
Who needs geography? I don't need it. I'm not going nowhere.
Dude, I hated school. Oh my god, and that was my least favorite class. Oh my god, I hated it.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. I can imagine. So one of the things that I do, um, because when I started this channel, I kind of saw there was kind of a need for people to kind of recognize the importance of play.
Sure.
Um, in order to do that, I'm going to kind of define what play is, what we would call this in a psychological sense. Um, and then we'll kind of talk about, when the last time you played is. So, a play state is a state of mind when you're absorbed in an activity that provides enjoyment and a suspension of a sense of time.
Oh wow.
It's what we would call in sports, they would call it flow,
Okay. Interesting. Wow. Okay.
or in the Zen moment. You're having that, being in the zone as well is another phrase for it.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. Okay. You want to
So,
know when
given
I
that
did?
definition, when was the last time that you played?
Uh okay. Uh Lise, what's up, babe? I will say It's easier, Aaron, for me to name the moments in time that I don't play. Uh,
Okay.
so my goal, my whole life is really been to try my best to live it to the fullest. Um, with also being a responsible adult, doing the things you have to do as an adult. Besides that, like I said, I dive deep into all my hobbies. So music, video games, toys, film. I am always like, look at this room. Like every room in our house is like this. It's all themed. So I try and stay within that world as long as I can.
So, when you were a kid, what were your favorite ways to play? Could anything go with anything, or was it all compartmentalized? Transformers couldn't play with GI Joe, and He-Man couldn't play with Thundercats. It was all everything was sterilized, for lack of a better word, but structured.
Uh, that's a good question. I want to say hi to everyone in the chat. I recognize so many faces here.
Oh yeah, we're going to say it here in a
I just
second,
want
but
to
I
wave
want
to
to
you
cover these
guys.
guys.
Um,
We'll go through. Trust me.
for sure, buddy. Let me just say that we used to play a game called Mix Up, and we would put everything together. I never. There be times when it's like Mask was a good example. Mask was something that we did in Mix Up, but we loved to play Mask on its own. GI Joe was another one on its own, but for the most part, we mixed everything up. The most special times I say would be Star Wars. And I was actually on Lawrence's show when we were talking about this, where I had so much respect, even as a young kid, for George Lucas that we would make our own episode 7, 8, and that's what we would play. We'd never try and create Empire or Jedi or anything like that because those already happened. And we didn't want to erase that. So we'd make like our own episodes after Return of the Jedi.
So,
Nerd.
you know, that's how it works for us, though. We create that head canon. That's what makes playing with toys enjoyable, right?
Yes.
If we're just doing what we saw on the cartoon or doing what we read in the comic, are we exploring that imaginative play, which is what's critical to our social development? So
Right.
it's part of that process. So do you remember how play made you feel?
Well, ooh, man, this is a great show. Wow, these are some deep questions, man. I love it. It, great. It made me feel free. The first job I ever wanted was to be an actor. I loved, and this is what toys are. They're little avatars, right? So I
Yeah.
loved picking up Luke, and then I would become Luke. I would talk like Luke. I would act like Luke. Same with anything, Skeletor, whoever you picked up, right? You became that character. At least I did. I would act like them. So for me, my friends and I played really hard, meaning that we exhausted ourselves with like effects coming out of our mouths. Like we would sing music. Like it was like this whole production, and our play sessions would go like 4 or 5 hours. So again, it's just those things where we got lost in time past and we didn't know. And then like it was like, oh my God, it's like, if we're sleeping over at each other's houses, oh my God, it's like midnight. We're still playing like
Yeah.
the three elements for G.I. Joe, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, it's good that we can kind of reflect on those feelings that we had as a kid when we played, because I think that we forget that joyous innocence as
yeah, for
adults. We
sure. Yeah,
forget
I
to
agree.
just be in the moment.
I
So,
agree.
speaking of being in the moment, we're going to take a moment and say hello to everybody that showed up for the chat. There is Attorney in Ellipse. Hello. Why is it not coming up? There we go. Slow tonight.
That's a cool name. I like that.
Yes, Sir Clifton. I did have a good Thanksgiving. I hope yours did as well. There's Lisa Bartlett. Hello. Matthew Matson. Hello, sir. Nolan. Ken. How are you, sir? All right. Wait, there's a lot of talking and talking and talking. Yep. There's Lawrence.
Oh, this punk with toys.
Yeah. It's Larry. Larry showed up.
What's up, buddy? Good to see you.
And there's Oz. How you doing, Oz? Thanks for
Oh,
coming.
hello.
Hey. Rick.
something.
I
What?
hope Jay finds joy. I will.
Wow.
We'll talk about that. We'll get to his joy here in a little bit later. Lawrence says Jay's episode 7, 8, and 9 as a kid were better than the ones that I have no clue what their story was.
Just commission me to write it, and yeah, I'll do that. And I defended. We're not gonna get into Star Wars. That's like I feel like I need therapy when we start talking about Star Wars. Let's just drop it.
Well, there is a therapy in the name. I'm just saying.
And Aaron, you've been on so many of my streams, man. You know that it always leads to Star Wars, right? So we'll get.
Yeah, I know.
I'm shutting up.
See, this is the other reason why I don't go by my name, because there's another one, Aaron the Toy Enhancer. Yeah.
Right.
And he does what I do, because I do customs too. So there's figuratively speaking. Hey, John, how are you, sir? Thanos Copter. Good evening, sir.
Oh, what a great name. Wow. Thanos.
Oh, Thanos is amazing. You should see some of his stuff. Now, it's not for the faint of heart.
Sure.
I will tell you that on Instagram.
Sure.
My buddy's Customs. What's up, bud? And I think that's everybody.
Wow. So many people, guys. Thanks for hanging.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I appreciate everyone being here. So we kind of talked about those feelings, and I want you to think about those feelings. When was the last time that you as an adult felt that way? Felt that abandonment, that joy, that being in the moment?
Oh, today when I was game streaming. Yeah, we were playing The Walking Dead.
The travesty game? Really?
Dude, let me tell you right now, it's not that bad, man. The Game Mill game is not that bad. Everyone's crapping on it because it's the same studio that made that Kong game. It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Okay.
But when I stream, when I play music, when I do toy stuff, when I'm shooting toys or making a toy video, and I try and do that throughout the day. And like you said, time passes like that. It's crazy.
So in talking about playing, how do you play differently with your toys now than as you did with this kid, or are they stay the same?
No, differently. I think us as adult collectors, the way we play now is we take photos of them. We make little videos, little YouTube videos. We review them, right? Which is just us opening the box, and everyone loves it. You know, everyone loves to watch somebody open something, to see that joy on their face. You're right there with that person. So that's how we play with them now. You know, I don't have kids, right? So I can't get on my hands and knees and do the voices anymore. So the way I play with it is by shooting the toys and just doing unboxings, posing them, setting them up for little scenes, you know? Like, it's awesome.
Well, even displaying them the way that we display them, for the most part, most of us display our collections in a particular way. Like for me, I don't do the whole, like, you know, I don't have a couple of them, but I don't really like it when they're just like all stoically standing. There's got to be a little more dynamic thing there.
And that's weird. I'm the opposite. So mine are they're not standing straight, like they'll have a battle pose or something, but I don't do like scenes. And in my toy room, all my Joes, the vehicles are just by themselves. There's no pilots. Even my flag is completely empty. Well, I think my Sky Striker's on it, but the flag's empty. I don't have it filled with figures or anything like that. And I want to say it's lifeless, but it's just, I like that store looking kind of display.
That's understandable. I mean, I have sort of that. In my used to be toy room now, it's not my toy room anymore because, you know, I had to give it to someone else to help them out.
Yeah.
I have walls of my carded figures. Some of them are recarded. I have a 86 Slaughter that I actually put on a card.
Oh, cool.
And put him on the wall. I have a few vintage up there, but most of it's 25th, 30th, Pursuit of Cobra, 50th.
Hey, do you know what, man? The 25ths are rapidly becoming my favorite. Carson, our good buddy Carson, we kind of bring this up a lot. Our buddy Carson from 3D Joe's, who has the complete collection, he has everything, told me a couple years back that O-ring Joes are ticking time bombs. So to really be careful when you're buying carded O-rings, because eventually they'll rot.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna dry rot. And as soon as he
Yeah.
said that, man, like my stomach dropped. I only have like 2 or 3, but I was like, "Oh wow, he's right." Like even if you take care of it,
Yeah.
keep it in keep the temperature right and stuff like that, it's gonna dry rot. So the 25ths are that sweet spot with Garrido art, and then you have the new excuse me, highly articulated figures that are I think they're pretty sweet, man. I love them.
Lawrence is making an assertion about your flag that doesn't have 8 shipwrecks on it.
Oh,
Because
yeah, him and his
he
shipwreck.
he has to have that absurd
That's a
number of
fun story.
shipwrecks. Got to have them swabbies, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people. This is no offense to anybody. This is just my opinion, okay? You gotta say that or you get destroyed, right? I've seen a lot of people who use their flags as like a table. Like they drop everything on it. And I don't want it to look that way. I want it to be downstairs to be the centerpiece of the room. And when people see it, just the flag, it's like, wow. If you see a
Yeah.
flag with like boxes on it and like figures just scattered everywhere, I don't think it has as big of an impact.
Well, I mean, I had a flag. I worked for a summer in the heat, in a warehouse as a kid to get the money to buy that. So it was a
Wow.
big thing for me,
Yeah,
and of course the story's been told multiple times about my ex-wife selling all of my GI Joe stuff for $75, including my flag.
I didn't know that. Wow, that's the
Yeah.
first I've heard of it.
So
Yeah, that's rough.
yeah, it
That's
was
rough.
bad. So it's just one of those things that happened. There's a reason why she's an ex-wife.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like
I'm not
that's not even
teasing.
not even like a good price. Like it's not even that's not even close to being good. Like at least get $100 just for the flag. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
That's awful,
So,
dude.
oh, hi. Yes, hello. You want to say hi? You want to say hi to everybody? Nobody's seen you yet. This is baby girl.
Aw,
She is
so
new.
cute.
We just got her.
Just got
Brand
it.
new
Nice.
baby. Okay, you go back to being in trouble.
So that's a
Now
dog you
you're
have
running.
to groom. You have to cut their hair.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
had
So
a
this is
cocker spaniel where we had to groom her because she just, if you didn't, she would just grow her hair.
yeah. She's just got done getting all of her matted hair taken off, and she's just came in on. We got her Monday. Monday. Yeah.
Oh, so
Monday.
cute. So cute.
Yeah. So she's a little attached already, which is good. That's good. So I want to go over your childhood toy lines, and then we'll kind of go through what your collection is. Now, fair to say, I did take screenshots of your tour video,
Sure.
and there's probably a lot.
Sure.
Just saying, there's a lot of pictures that we're going to go through for your collection, and you can kind of you'll figure it out. So, childhood toy lines. What were your big three, and why?
Star Wars, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. Big surprise, right?
Yeah,
So I would spend the summers at my grandma's. My mom would grab me after work at 5 o'clock, and at my grandma's street, it was a dead end street, which was great. And there was a neighborhood kid there that I played Transformers with every single day. And it was we just did Transformers. My other friends, I had Joe friends and Star Wars friends, but this kid just Transformers, and it was some of the funnest play times I ever had in my life. And we would play hardcore, meaning that if someone got killed, keep in mind, this was like the summer after the movie came out. So this was my idea. If someone got killed during the game, like a character, you could never use them again. I don't know why we came up with that rule. It was pretty dumb now that I look back on it, but that's how we played.
it
Star
was
Wars, of course.
eliminate. So it was toy elimination, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we have like a sequential story that would continue. It would continue day after day, and it's like it was a big event. I remember when we killed Prime eventually one time, and it was a huge event. And then we had to come up with the leader, and it was really cool. Star Wars, of course, everyone played. GI Joe was the best though. GI Joe was outside all the time. Uh, and we lived on a crescent, and we would play the three elements. The very first Joe a mini series. You got to get to the three elements. And we would do it at my buddy's house who lived behind me, my house, and then in the middle of the crescent, good neighborhood, so we could leave toys everywhere. Nobody took anything. And I just love the toy stories with the MacGuffin. Oh, we got to get here. We got to beat Cobra here. We got to be the first one to get the red liquid. Okay. Oh, Cobra did it. So now we got to go get the blue liquid over here. Oh my God, dude. It was just so fun. So fun.
I think 90% of what we do as far as toys, we always had that, it was always a MacGuffin. Really. If you
Sure.
think about it, if we're
Yeah.
always fighting for something, it's always something ephemeral, it's this thing, some type of Deus Ex Machina kind of thing.
And that was like every episode of Mask was like that.
Yeah.
Every single one was like that. But the Joe stuff was special. G.I. Joe just had to me, just a little bit extra quality above all other cartoons. Even though it didn't, but it did to me, right? I mean, Transformers is right on par with that. I loved it, and I loved the fact that there was so many Joes that every kid I knew had their favorite character beyond Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander and the usual five or whatever. Everyone would have their own favorite, and I like barbecue because my dad's a fireman, my buddy would say, and it's so cool because that character resonates with him. I don't understand it. I thought barbecue was lame, but he loved it because his dad was a fireman, and that's what made Joe so special.
Yeah.
Whereas if you play Star Wars, it's Luke, Han, and Leia, right? For the most part.
Yeah, I mean you've got the archetypes, but yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go through and we're gonna kind of show people your collection. Hey, look at that. There's your face.
Look at that mug. Golly.
So behind you is obviously a carded wall. This looks like maybe what is that all?
So that would be the screen left, the top, you could see the green packages of Power of the Force 2. And if you go all the way over, I start at 1995. Power of the Force. No, go back. Sir, go back. I just meant like if you could somehow scroll through the picture. Like if you could. You can't see it. It's out of frame is my point. But it's all,
well, if it's out of frame, these are screenshots. So
yeah, it's all in
we'll
order.
We'll probably see a picture of it because I have a feeling we'll get to more. Because I took a bunch of screenshots. This is just the first one.
All Star Wars, pretty much, yeah.
So these are kind of interesting where you had your Ninja Force card for Zartan and the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. Now, those are the Kenner ones, right?
That was a toy line I never knew existed until 5 years ago. Okay. I was toy shopping, and I'm good friends with one of the toy store owners here in town, and I got to go through a bunch of cards. I love collecting artwork for toys. And I never knew there was a Butch and Sundance toy line. So I grabbed it because I'd never seen it before. So yeah, I think toy artistry is just as important as the toy. So that's a lot of times when we're doing our verses, it's a photo of the toy in the car on the card.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a complete package, right?
It is. There was always something about if the package really wasn't enticing, I don't think a lot of kids would have looked at the figure.
Right.
Because I think that's what sells it. That's the story.
100%.
So Bionic 6, you got a card of that. That is one of those 80s lines that's a little bit underrated.
It's obscure. It's different. I love the weird stuff in video games and in toys. I always love the stuff with the really interesting history, stuff that didn't sell well. What you would call bad toys or bad video games. I love learning about why it didn't fail, why it's terrible. I wouldn't say Bionic 6 is terrible, but it was definitely completely overshadowed.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of the 80s toys did. And here's another one, Robotech.
Matchbox Robotech, yeah.
I mean, those
wonderful toy line. Wonderful.
Yeah. It just it got overshadowed.
Well, that was the whole Hasbro deal, right? They got the rights for the Veritech fighter. So when Matchbox brought them out, they weren't their Veritech there shown in the picture wasn't allowed to transform. So kids didn't want a Veritech that couldn't transform. I loved them though. I think they're great. They're great toys.
Yeah. Very 80s toys, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Now, here's your choplifter. I thought that was fantastic. I can remember spending quite a bit of time playing that game. Okay, here's your Well of Souls and
Yeah.
your
That's a football helmet case from Michael's, which is a framings, a craft store in town. So that's a case you'd buy to put a like a football game, winning football or whatever, or a football helmet in there. But I bought a bunch of these, so the really really important pieces to me are put in those cases.
so it's interesting how much you really love the play sets. I mean, I think the play sets for a lot of toy lines are kind of definitive. Now, here's another thing that not a whole lot of people get to see, which is a Tiamat.
Yeah,
This is one
yeah.
of these things that I really hope we get one. I don't think we will. I don't think we'll get a new one. I don't
Well,
think that the 40th anniversary did very well.
it's so weird, right? Because the Hasbro cartoon kids look good, but
Hmm.
they're garbage. They're very weird. I only bought the
Yeah,
first three. As soon as I saw the Dungeon Master and Avenger were a two-pack to Target, I was like, again, I lose all interest, right? I don't care. And then the other side, where you get Warduke and Grimsword and Strongheart, they're NECA and they're
yeah,
giant. So if you're
yeah,
gonna have mounts or a dragon, like, dude, it's gonna be like $300.
yeah. So I mean, it's disappointing because I would have liked to have seen Tiamat again.
Yeah, the
That
D&D
show
line.
kind of it has a special kind of meaning for me because that was one of those few times that me and my brother would actually,
Yeah.
sit together on a Saturday morning and watch something.
The LJN advanced D&D line is one of my favorite toy lines. They're beautiful, they're colorful, they're awesome. Subscribe,
Here's your yeah. There you
subscribe.
go. Subscribe to Jay. If you haven't, go ahead and do it. But I love the cardboard play sets.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
really, really wish we would have those plastic with the cardboard play sets. I had this one. I remember this one. I had so many hours of this one. I mean, I played with it till the cardboard wore out as a kid. Same
Yeah,
thing with
they
the
both have
AT-AT one.
the same base, right? The same
Yeah,
plastic base, just a different color. But this is the era we grew up in, dude, right? It was like you
yeah,
needed to use your imagination and it was fine. I
yeah.
loved
It
it.
was great. Now I'm assuming this is the Mattel, or
This is the McFarlane one that
is
came
this
out,
the McFarlane one?
I think
Okay.
2020 it came out. Yeah.
And here's your droid
Droid
factory.
Factory, and not very interesting to look at, but a soft place in my heart because you could build your own droid, man.
Yep. And this is your Star Trek, right? Is
That's
this
the
Mego?
Mego Star Trek Enterprise Bridge playset. Yeah, made
Okay.
of vinyl.
I love the effect for the transporter.
It's cool. Hey, Thanos Copter, thank you very much. Appreciate that, dude. Yeah, this is I'm not a Star Trek guy. Okay, I really love the Kirk movies, but I don't know much about Star Trek. But this is I want with my toy collecting, Aaron, what I like to do is I like to have one piece of every line that come out. I don't have to have the entire set. I just want to have one piece just to have it represented kind of thing. This is my Migo
This
entry.
is your Mego representation.
Yeah. Oh, he fell down.
Uh-oh. So I guess this one didn't come out very well, but this is obviously your Masterverse He-Man and Battle Cat, and then there's a Black Star over
Yeah.
here in this corner.
And
Hopefully,
Warlock. Yeah.
and then of course here's some more. Star Wars is a significant portion of your collection, isn't it?
It is. What you're looking at here, the two Jedi starfighters represent the golden age of Star Wars collecting, which was 2002 to 2010. That's my humble opinion. We got so many characters, and they did every single little thing that came on the screen, being vehicle, playset. It didn't matter. We got it all. And
Mm-hmm.
the times we live in now, what Hasbro is doing, the crap they're pulling all the time, we will never see any of this stuff again, ever.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember that this is that little Power of the Force one, isn't it? The snow speeder
That's the expanded universe one. It was from
one. Yeah,
some book, yeah.
I had so many of those. I had so many of them. When Power of the Force came out, it brought me as an adult back to collecting.
Yeah.
At least briefly, anyway. Until episode 1 hit, and then it just kind of that made me just.
You didn't like
not
it.
do
You
it.
didn't like it, eh?
It wasn't the movie. Just in general, my daughter was born, and I had to grow up, and
Sure,
that kind
yeah,
of thing.
dude, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Couldn't do the but when Power of the Force came out, I made sure that I went and got back all of the toys that I didn't get as a kid that I could play with as an adult. So AT-ATs, A-Wings, Y-Wings, everything that I couldn't get.
And isn't it great that stuff that you never could get, it just seems to shine a little bit more in your collection? Isn't that funny?
It did. Yeah, it did. It definitely did. So chicken walkers and some.
That's Obi-Wan on a boga. That's Anakin, and that's the shield generator bunker from Jedi. I love it. I don't know what that thing is on the bottom. Some stupid boat. I'm just kidding.
that is one of my whales. It's a whale grail.
Yeah.
At some point, I want to get a whale. I did not have one as a kid, and it's one of those ones that I would want.
Okay, Aaron, do yourself a favor, dude. Get it 100%. Don't try and piece it together. The whale is a nightmare.
Even worst case scenario, I would deal with repro. I mean, I can do the repro myself, so I'm not. That don't care if it's repro. I just want it to be there as a display piece. It looks good.
Yeah,
I think as far as it's one of the most toyetic toys, and that's like a big old oxymoron right there. Toyetic toy. I mean, as far as it's a play set, a toy, all in one, really kind of thing.
It is. It's a wonderful vehicle, and it was. Geez, isn't it funny? Like even back then, 1984, like I knew how great this thing was. Like any vehicle that can house multiple Joes, I was always such a huge fan of. That wasn't like the APC. That wasn't like a carrying case, right? Like this was clearly meant for travel and for battle. Yeah. So you could load the Joes up in the front there. It was so awesome. Then you had the sled, you had the motorbike. That's great.
Yeah. Just all those little play features. I mean, the fans that worked on the.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just there was so many play features to this. Now, here's your 3 3/4 inch modern retakes plus a reaction figure. I was kind of like, oh, this was kind of random in there, but I'm assuming there's a reason they're there.
Hot Rod was given to me by my good friend Michael Mercy.
Okay.
And Daredevil is my favorite superhero. I can't remember where I got the Spider-Man. Daredevil and Elektra obviously go together.
Yeah.
I think I was still at EB at the time for the Spider-Man, so I got him for a significant discount. But I stopped that line pretty quick because they went up to like $24 or something. I was like, "Is everyone okay? Like, what is going on here?"
Now here's your NECA. Your NECA Back to the Future into these are the newer NECA stuff.
Yeah.
They look really good. They do. The one thing about NECA is it looks really good. Just don't ever take it out of the box and play with it or try to do anything with it significantly, because then you're going to run the risk of breaking it. I hate to say that, but that's the reality of NECA, and I love NECA stuff. The way it looks is fantastic. My gargoyles.
Yeah,
they're taking them out of the box.
I would say they're getting better. The plastics are very hard, not as hard as McFarlane. McFarlane's plastic is like bizarre.
Oh yeah, no, his is awful.
NECA's like when I took this Marty out, the headphone wire just snapped, and I was like, really? Okay. I mean, it's super fragile, but I mean, NECA is a case by case basis for me, right? They have a lot of great stuff, like the War Duke, which is like my favorite character. He's great, but then there's other stuff like a lot of the horror guys I like, but I don't like the way they look, like out of the box. So it's a case by case basis. This was pure nostalgia. I just got these for Doc, 2 Martys, and the Biff, and then I'm like, that's it. I'm out.
Yeah, I want to get, probably at some point I will probably go get the Warduke and the Grimsword, and probably some of the other ones too. I don't need
Strongheart,
any more lines though. I don't
Strongheart's
need any more
better,
lines, Jay. You don't understand. I don't need any more lines.
dude. Aaron, the toy enhancer. Thank you very much. I assume you're talking about my channel.
I would assume so.
Yes, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to go up a bit here. Aaron with My Buddy's Custom says, "Love Michael Mercy. He's a great guy." Yes, he's a good friend. One of the greatest toy channels on YouTube. 100%.
He was actually one of the first, when I went back to look for toy people.
Yep.
He's one of the first ones that came up.
It was
His toy room, 80s toy museum videos.
When we were shooting Action Figure Adventure, we were doing a ton of research. Rob and I, who's my friend, who's the writer director, when we started to do this, we've always been in the toy space, but we really, really jumped into it. The first channels I came across, and this was before I was on YouTube, were Brian, so Hooded Cobra Commander, Michael French, Retro Blasting, and Michael Mercy. Those 3 guys, and they're still like the 3 best, 100%.
So yeah, no, that's kind of where, from there is where I found everybody else. So it was kind of interesting how it broke down.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time, those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Now here's your mask stuff. I think I got it all, but yeah, there we go. Mask was always a fantastically engineered toy.
Beautiful. It's art. It's art. So fragile, but so beautiful. I love the scale. When we would mix up, play He-Man with Transformers and whatnot, you always had to use your imagination. And I think why we liked playing Mask by itself was because it was just so special. And I think it was so small too, but it was so special. And we loved picking the agents for the mission, We loved doing that whole thing. It was just, it's such a great line. It was such a fantastic idea. I was just gonna say, Chad and I talk about it all the time about if Hasbro still has it under lock and key, and it's like we all, I think, to some degree want it to come back.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it should come back. I think
sometimes it's lightning in a bottle, and if you get it back, it's not as good. And then if it's not as good, it kind of will sour that. For example,
yeah,
I mean, for some people, the sequel trilogy and the prequel trilogy soured them on Star Wars, right? Sometimes that nostalgia that we've worked in our heads doesn't always translate when it comes to something new. It's kind of like with Legends doing Crystar figures now.
I saw that. I was like,
it's pre-ordered. Mind you, I'm pre-ordered that one. That was not a hesitation.
It got you. So that
day one member variant.
That's above Warduke. Oh my god. Hey, that's there you go.
There was for whatever it was, you give me a translucent figure and I'm a weirdo for it. I can't explain it. Yes, Thanos, you do know that I don't have to buy the entire line, but you know what? If it's Dungeons and Dragons, there's probably a better than average chance that I'm gonna do the whole line. And I don't want to.
I'd tell you, dude, if they did a Fortress of Fangs, I don't know how they would. I don't know how they would do it, but if they did that, it would be. I don't care if it's 1,000. I would get that thing, and that's totally
they could do it. Yeah.
No, like if they did for the NECA Fortress of Fangs, they did.
They could do it.
Oh easily. Yeah, well they could, but it'd be $1,000, right?
That'd be ridiculous. It would be a Cat's Lair price, $700-800 plus shipping of $200.
That and dude, again, you're always on my streams. You know that me and in toy prices, it's just we've had this ongoing battle for like 2 years now, but like $1,000 for a playset is insane to me.
It is. It's ridiculous. But you know what? We do it. We enjoy it, I guess, for whatever reason, because they keep selling it to us.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, now we're gonna get to some of my favorite GI Joe stuff here.
Me too.
These little play sets, these little, mini transportable everything sets were my favorite things from GI Joe. And I had a
Yeah.
flag, I had, Tomahawk, I had, Sky Strikers, I had Conquests, I had I had most of the stuff. Now I didn't have a Terror Drone, but give me a Cobra surveillance port,
Yeah.
give me a bivouac, and I
Sick.
am 100%.
Look at that. It's beautiful.
It's awesome.
So
I actually
beautiful.
printed one that's similar to that for my classified stuff, but
Oh, that's awesome. Really? That's
it's not
amazing.
as good as I would like, so I'm probably gonna have to work on that file to see if I can get it to do it. I printed actually a jump pack today, this morning, and Checkpoint Alpha.
So
So
checkpoint alpha. Okay, so let's like if you look at the bivouac, it's got all these little accessories, the axe, the shovel, and all that. But checkpoint alpha, this is how lame I am, ladies and gentlemen. Checkpoint alpha has one of my favorite Joe accessories. You can't really see it here, but it's the clipboard. It's just a little
oh yeah.
clipboard. I
Oh,
like just little things like that is what made the Hassenfeld brothers so frigging amazing in the 80s. They were gods, man, to make stuff like that. I know I'm
yeah.
mean. Clipboard.
No, I love Checkpoint Alpha. It was fun. It was one of those things that you could put anywhere and just kind of make it the front of the base, and could have Law and Order patrolling along with
Yeah.
Mutton Junkyard on the other end of the thing. It was a good way to kind of imagine that opening point of your base.
I agree. World builders, I call them.
Yeah,
They're all world builders. Yeah.
and there's the MMS,
Yeah, there she is.
and you wouldn't think that these little sandbags and gas cans and a oil drum would be a great playset,
Yeah.
but it is.
It really
Why?
is. Yeah.
Because it's versatile. I can do anything I want with it. I don't have to pick it, just this group. I can put it with this other stuff, and it works with all of it.
Yeah, it's and Hasbro was really, really great at making play sets at several different price points and vehicles. So everybody could get a piece of G.I. Joe.
See, and then you had the restricted area. You can make it a minefield. It was fun because then you could put tripwire in the minefield and have them go through the mine. They
I've been
found a
like,
way to give you ideas.
yeah, like the Cobra rifle range to the right there. I mean,
Yeah,
we would use that a lot. It's like, oh, you know what? In between missions, let's get our Cobras, let's get them practicing so they can shoot down the Joes. But just little cool things like that, man. Little world building things. Like everything in G.I. Joe didn't have to be the bases and the Terradrome and Sky Strikers. That stuff
yeah.
was, you know, great, but it was this stuff that was really the heart of it, except the bomb disposal. I don't like that too much. The poor kid who had that, you show up a Sky Striker in the stun, and then the poor kid who had the bomb disposal is like, "Can I play too?" It's like, ugh.
I don't know. The manta right there is pretty close.
Yeah, the Manta. That's
And then
I
you
did,
then you have the foam gliders. Those lasted approximately 2.3 pulls.
yeah, and then they broke. Yeah,
My
100%.
I can remember when we got those for I think it was a birthday. It literally we threw it twice each. Different. We had he got the Joe and I got the Cobra one. We threw them twice. The foam, yeah, it died. An ignominious death. And there's a ram cycle, and of course the snake armors. See, there was always these little things Joe really thought about. Now, here's your 25th anniversary with I think that's a weather dominator, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I really love that they did those sets, and they're really kind of interesting.
dude, they're amazing. I absolutely love the 25th stuff. That Lady J that comes in that box is my favorite Lady J figure. Exactly like the cartoon.
Now, I'm assuming at the time this is classified. I don't know how many you still have of your classified collection, but
I don't have many anymore. I have a handful of characters that I still enjoy, but I got rid of most of it. Yeah.
Here's your boxes. Now boxes play a big important part because that's kind of that's the other half of the toy, right?
Yeah,
It's that
absolutely.
it's what sold you. Because in a lot of instances, you're not seeing the actual toy. You're seeing the box that
Yeah.
displays the toy doing something or acting in a way that would, entice you.
Yeah, the snake armor would be my army builder. I would army build snake armor for sure.
See, and then looking at the rhino and how it just shows you everything that it does. Mask was a really cool toy line, well executed. You couldn't do it today, but it was well executed. You could. It's just really expensive. Here's your slave one, which is no longer slave one.
Well, it is to us old timers. It is.
To us grandpas, it is. It will always be forever. Actually, slave one.
Actually, that is still slave one. Thank you.
uh, Star Wars always had great packaging, even if it was silly, somewhat.
I
Like
always
Jabba the Hutt.
loved.
That
I
whole
loved
play
it.
set was just weird looking, and I loved Jabba the Hutt play set. Honestly, that was fun.
If you look at the kid to the left of the cantina playset there, I always loved seeing the kid because you could relate to it. And Kenner
Yeah,
always had the solid colored background. And that's early toy photography, like
yeah.
the Job of the Hut playset, stuff like that. I loved the Kenner packaging. Um, Still my
They
favorite
wanted
to
to
this
put
day.
that toy front and center for you.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
love they put the kid in there so you kind
yeah,
of get an idea of the size of it because you can't see it. There's no bubble, right? So
exactly.
they kind of give you an idea of what you're in store for.
Now here's your wall of Star Wars.
One of them, yeah. Yep.
One of the,
Yeah.
here's some more. Here's your Power of the Force. There's a 2000X Gray Skull.
Yeah.
Some Brave Star in the corner over here. I think we'll come
That's
back to it. I'm sure.
sealed Brave Star Fort Carrium. Yeah.
Okay. And here's your flag. See, there is a sky. There is a Sky Striker on it, but
No pilots though.
it is devoid of people.
Yeah.
It's devoid of people. It is the poor empty sky, poor empty
And
Sky Striker on the poor empty flag.
I don't have any like everyone's doing those cool multi-tiered movable
Yeah,
tables.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't have anything like that. I just have like Home Depot tables that I bought for
yeah.
it. But I wanted to because the floors are wood, I wanted to be able to get in behind there,
Yeah.
right? Because we shot a bunch of the flag for our show. So I wanted to be able to have it move. And I'm like, I don't really want to build a multi-tier. I don't know. I like things as they are. That's
Yeah.
why I admire guys like Chad, who are toy modifiers. Like I don't possess that skill. Um, but I also like the toy in its original form. So that's why another reason I did do the multi-layered, although they're damn cool.
Now here's Boulder Hill, and
Yeah.
honestly it is a fun playset.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's incredible. Yep.
And this is classics, Swiftwind and Shira, right?
Correct. Yeah. Always my favorite. I prefer her to He-Man. I get a lot of slag for that, but I stick
I,
by it, my friends.
there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, now why is there a Falcon and a random Battle Force 2000 guy? I don't know who that Battle Force
I
2000 is.
collect Maverick and Falcon.
Okay,
Falcon is my favorite overall. Every
yeah,
time
I
I
knew
see a
that.
Falcon, I have to have them. They're just around because I like to pose them. I love Maverick so much, so they're just around. They're like what I call my playing toys, right? So I could just mess around with them, move them around. I just like grabbing it, holding it in my hand, especially like
So
Falcon.
so
It's
they're
such a
like your
perfect
pocket
thing.
figures, is what you're saying.
Pretty much, yeah. They don't really have their place. There's some new kids for you right there.
I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, oh, okay, okay, we'll cover that, but okay.
Yeah, in our main floor is where all the dolls are in a glass case. So I have like Gem and the Holograms, Welcome Back Cotter, New Kids on the Block, Migo stuff.
There's your Boulder Hill box
Yeah.
right in front of your AT-AT. Your Snake Mountain is over here. So, of the toys that you have,
Yes.
what toy would you say if let's say there was a fire and you had to grab one thing, what would Jay grab?
Like a toy? What would I
Yeah,
grab?
what toy would you grab?
That's a good question, dude. I don't know. I would probably say something lame like the vintage collection Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker that's on the wall. They did one, I think in 2019. It's my favorite Luke that they've ever done. I would probably grab that. Yeah, it's right there. There it is, right
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
I was
I
gonna say
love it.
because I know I just seen it.
Yeah, I would grab that.
Now, is this a Power of the Force or the vintage?
That's the legacy. So
Okay,
that's
that's Legacy. Most
one to
recent.
one actual scale to the figures. That one.
Omega Supreme and your She-Ra Castle back
Crystal
there.
Castle. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's the War for Cybertron Omega Supreme.
Obviously, you were shooting your wardrobe review.
Oh wow. Yeah. That feels like a lifetime ago, but yeah. There's the box. And isn't it funny how we do these videos and it looks so giant, and then when you pull it back, it's like that's it? That's where you shoot? I'm like, yep, that's it. Little white box.
It's interesting, right? Because we, when I'm doing my customs nights, because I'll do a customs night or a dio night where I'm working on a dio,
Yeah, that's so
and
cool.
instead of seeing it right, my head is right here. What you'll see is my hands, and you'll see this big old shot of my dining room table, which of course I could do it in the garage, but I don't
Right.
want to because I don't have a hard line. So, but yeah, no, it's always interesting to see
You
that.
pull the curtain back, it's like, yeah. Oh, there you
Yeah,
go. Look at that. I love
there
it.
it
I
is.
love it. I love it.
Robotech to me was it was kind of an introduction into, Robotech, Voltron, all of those early 80s Japanese animation shows that were, Americanized, but, you know, heavily edited down, but
Robotech, yeah, like they
but
made
they were a gateway. And then
yeah.
you had like things like Thundercats, which was done in anime style
Yep.
with American sensibilities.
Well, I would say so was Joe, so was Transformers, right? It was
Yeah,
all anime.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's weird. Robotech was the first one where I knew it was Japanese. Like
yeah,
obviously the dubbing, the English dubbing and stuff like that. But it was very adult, very different from Transformers, where apart from the movie, occasionally, someone might take a hit in the shoulder. He's okay. But Robotech, man, they killed Roy. Like it was like they killed a character. It was like, oh my God,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
gone
It was real
forever.
stakes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the toys are actually really cool. They really are, and I know they're very underrated toy line.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah, the Matchbox Robotech are great. I don't know what that thing is.
Here's your GI Joe headquarters. I can remember the year that my brother and I got this, and we just had so many hours of playing with it. But of course, he got too cool to play with toys, so I ended up getting it for a long
It
time.
happens. Yeah, it
Yeah.
happens.
Now here's a Secret Wars. Now I couldn't tell exactly what figure this was. I'm assuming it's a Daredevil.
That's Daredevil. Yep. Yep. So again, just
Then you,
my love for the Daredevil character. I had an opportunity to find a Secret War. Like I don't have them loose.
yeah,
The only one I've ever seen my whole life is that one, and I'm like, well, it's sealed. I guess we're pulling the trigger. And it's Secret Wars are not bad to collect. They're not too expensive.
no. Now here's Uncle Owen and Baru's home.
Yeah, that's a cool playset. I really like that. I think it's 2008 ish.
I was gonna say because I've never seen it, so I was curious about it.
Yeah, I think it was a Target exclusive. I got it used. I didn't buy it new, but I think when I was researching it, I just wanted to make sure it was complete. It actually comes with one of the moisture antennas. The other one is from a Luke figure.
Now, this is the Palatoy Death Star.
Yes.
It is fully cardboard, but it was also reused as the Action Force
Yeah.
headquarters with a little bit of redo on the exteriors. There's just something, again, like I said, there's something about cardboard. It's silly, it's goofy. It's like Cobra's Missile Command. There's something, yeah, as now that I look at like things like extreme sets and stuff like that as an adult, I look at them and go, that doesn't do anything for me. But as a kid, how many
Th-
hours I would spend playing with those cardboard toys?
this
Ridiculous.
one, obviously never came here. This was a European play
Yeah.
set. And I gotta be transparent. If I had each play set side by side when I was a kid, I'd pick the Kenner all day long. Even
Yeah.
though I love cardboard, now it's the reverse. I would much rather have this one, because if you just sit down in front of it and you could just picture that you could have so much adventure with this. I mean, you got to use your imagination a lot because every room is empty, but there's just so much to this playset to love. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Now here's another one that is just,
God tier, S tier, S
yeah,
tier, S tier.
it's fantastic. And finding one complete is absurd, but
Yeah.
it's just fun. It's fun. Toys should be fun. At the end of the day, no matter what everything else we do, toys should be fun.
This one is good for any toy line too, because with the treasure chest being in the middle of it, it really opens up your imagination.
Yeah,
It's good for Indiana Jones too.
yeah. And it's nondescript enough that it works everywhere else.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So here's your now this that is that a vintage indie or is that the retro indie
Oh,
from 2008?
that's an 81
That's an
original.
81. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's an 88 Storm Shadow, right?
That's an 88 Canadian card Storm Shadow with a Zeller sticker. I love stickers on them. I love it.
And here's your Power of the Force Luke on indoor outfit.
Yeah, I'm a Luke guy, and there's my favorite DC hero, Robin. Pythona.
And your Luke Empire Luke.
My Empire Luke that I just the card back came with them, and I love that outfit
Yeah.
that Skywalker has, so just put them together. It's been opened though, clearly.
Your Darth Plagueis. And okay, I couldn't figure out what this was in the case. It says cool
Uh, yeah.
toys.
So our producer Jordan Morris used to own a toy store called Cool Toys in our local mall. This is way before I met him. And when we were shooting Action Figure Adventure, he donated a bunch of toys to me for the auction, and he gave me um the Star Wars figure here. So I asked him if I could keep it because this is part of toy history for me because it had his logo from his store and his price tag on it and stuff. So it's not worth anything, but to me it's very
Yeah.
special.
The EB99, right?
Yes, correct.
That's a 2008 Cobra Commander.
Yeah, the podium
Ripley.
Cobra Command, it's friggin' sick figure.
And here's
Brainiac.
the interesting one. Now, the card's a little beat up, but it is Brainiac.
Yeah, that Brainiac figure
Metal.
is fully vac metalized, and he's a bugger to find in good shape loose. So I had an opportunity to buy it with a beat up card, and I did because you have a pristine Brainiac.
Yeah, exactly. Any of those vac metal toys, it's ooh,
Just- yeah, they're rough.
yeah.
Silverhawks, oh god, Silverhawks are a nightmare.
And here's your A Team full set. I thought that was cool. I was like, I remember that set.
The Galoob set, the bootleg
Yeah,
GI Joes, yeah.
yeah. You know what? It pretty much what wasn't either. If it wasn't a bootleg GI Joe, it was a bootleg Transformer.
Fair.
I mean, let's be honest. That's kind of what they were going for at the time, or a bootleg He Man.
Yeah, I mean, I love the A Team. I was a big fan, like you, like everybody in the chat. Grew up watching A Team, so yeah, I just thought that was cool. That's my childhood at box. Still have that. I don't know who these
Here's
guys
your
are.
Joes. Now, do you have them by? It looks like you have them by years. Am I wrong on that?
Okay, so remember the obsessive part we were talking about earlier, buddy?
Uh-huh.
This is according to the Mark Belomo GI Joe guide. That's the order they're in. Yes.
Okay. I was like, it looked like they're by year here, but
Yep. Start at Breaker, and then they go down to the front, so they're in order. Yeah. Still missing a couple vintage ones, like early year, like Silver Pads Grand Slam. I don't have him yet. Never found one.
well, he's kind of hard to get though,
He's
because
really hard to get. Yeah, I have the orange Grand Slam, but not the silver.
yeah.
Yeah, look. I mean, dude, I don't know what you think, but it's the best toy line. Like, look at those. Those figures are
Yeah. No,
incredible.
it's
It's the best toy line.
there's a reason why if I stopped all of my other toy lines, I would still be collecting classified. Why? Because it has that connection to my childhood.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of people that come to my shows too that they just got back into Joe's again from when they were kids, and they collect classified because it's the gateway back to their childhood. And I think that's great.
And my favorite figure is in here to the left.
Are
Psych
you
out.
serious? Are
Sorry.
you serious? I mean,
I'm moderately serious because I like the weirdos.
fair.
Give me the weirdos because I can do the psychological warfare guy.
I know. I figured I don't mind the Night Force one. It's mostly the colors on them that are just so wacky.
Yeah, he screams, "Give me a pink misting," but it's all right.
Yeah,
There's a reason why he's in the background.
it's fair, but that's cool. I mean, look, you got Raptor there. Like, you got just a bunch of insanity in
Yeah,
'87.
they weren't afraid to do some weird stuff. Let's be honest.
I
And it
loved it.
got weirder as the line progressed, but
For
Joe took
Joe's,
chances that other lines didn't.
you got some of those Joe fans that swear I just like the military. So when you show Crocmaster, when you show Raptor, they're like, ugh, I don't want anything to do with that. I loved it because I loved Marvel Comics. So it was like the weirder it got, I liked. Like when Serpentor came in and he was made from all this DNA. I'm like, dude, this is amazing. Bring it on.
That taught me as a kid what DNA was. Let's be
Sure, of
honest.
course.
There were some educational moments, but I was like, oh, okay.
Yep.
That
I agree.
started my love of science and that kind of thing. So that was kind of one of those aspects. Now, it's with toys, it was always about what I could do with them and how they could, for me, they were the escape from the chaos that was my life as a kid.
Sure. Yeah.
They were my safe harbor. So whatever I could do with a toy was great.
Yeah, and I think you'll find a lot of us that are adult collectors in toys and in video games, which, make no mistake, video games are toys. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're just allowed to play with it and not get made fun of. It's the same thing. But I too, and I had a rough childhood, with my father and stuff like that. So yeah, you would pick up Luke and it would be like he would give you the power to just, you look at all the lessons of the Jedi, and I would just remember, like, not take it literal, but it would help me get through times. It's like, that's the dark side. I'll never be like that. That's just, that's how bad guys act. And
yeah,
I agree with you.
So you got a Sectars and you got a Darth Revan.
Yeah. That's yeah. It was a Dama.
So there's some interesting cards that you have, like General Commander Adama, and then you got some Buck Rogers and a black hole, and
yeah, I remember how I said I like to have one of each just to represent it. Yeah, so if I can get them on a card at a reasonable price, I'll do so. And these were all I mean, these aren't very expensive.
No,
but I love the art. Oh, look at this! This is perfection here. This line.
Clash of the Titans.
This is
it's good stuff.
I love it so much.
That Kraken, though, that Kraken is something else. That poor thing.
Yep, he's
fragile as nobody's business.
Super fragile.
Don't breathe on him wrong.
Don't breathe
on him wrong.
This is a great story. This was when VHS tapes first became a thing, we would have to go and rent a VHS. You couldn't buy one because they're like $1 million, but we would rent the VHS player for the weekend in the local mom and pop video store. You couldn't buy VHS back then. You could only rent because they were like $100. So we would rent, honest to God, dude, Clash of the Titans every single Saturday. For I can't tell you how many times I watched it. So I mean, great toy line, incredibly small. There's 4 figures.
Yeah,
That's it, man. And then the Kraken and the Pegasus. That's it.
they were I think they were trying to kind of. There was that, recreate that Star Wars toy to movie connection, and it just didn't resonate.
It didn't work because the line was so like, who wants to be Charon, like the ferryman? Like he takes the ferry to Medusa's island. It's like no, I'll be Perseus. You can be Charon.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, whoever that is, right? Like,
there wasn't a whole lot of options, right?
yeah.
This is your Indiana Jones stuff.
Incredibly underrated toy line. The 2008 Indiana Jones toys are so awesome. They're so awesome.
And here's your turtles. I was not expecting turtles when I guess I wasn't paying attention very well when I watched the video the first time, but I was not expecting the turtles.
I have a few. I actually don't have a lot of these now. I can't remember the alligator, Leatherneck. Oh no, so that's Joe. Leatherhead, and the other guy I don't have anymore.
Here's the whole display in general. So we'll look. I think it goes. I've got some. There's your Buck Rogers. There's your Veritech fighter.
Woo. Love it.
That's a nice looking Veritech fighter, by the way. There's the Superpowers Batmobile. Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes Mego, yeah.
Man. Ecto 1. Okay, the deal over here with the wagon. What is that?
Oh, so that's Brave Star. So that's the coach.
Oh, okay.
So the front part comes off. It's essentially just like the battle ram from Masters of the Universe. It's an incredible toy. So that front part can be taken off and you can ride it separately, and then this thing in the back transforms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
There's the bug.
Love it.
The mass device in the back. Buzzbore.
That's another Buck Rogers the light blaster ship. Yeah.
Buck Rogers should have been a better, should have been a more, I don't know. The show was one of those shows that I enjoyed as a kid. I remember watching it, enjoying it. I remember it on, being in syndication forever, considering it didn't last very long on regular TV.
I would say, dude, the reason it didn't survive, it has the Indiana Jones syndrome where it's one guy is the hero and everyone wants to be that guy. Like when you play with Indiana Jones toys, everyone wants to be Indiana Jones. And no offense to Sala.
No one wants to be short round, is what you're saying.
Everyone wants to be Indy, right? And same with Buck Rogers. Yeah. Everyone wants to be Buck, right? So
yeah.
The costumes were fire. Yes, Lise, absolutely.
Here's some more Joe vehicles.
Yeah, just some miscellaneous. The Panache Place Voltron.
Yeah, Voltron was one of those really, really cool toys if you could get it to not break.
Yeah. This set in particular gets a lot of hate for the scale being completely off, but I don't care. I just thought it was cool that you had Joe-sized figures that could go into the lions. It was wicked.
Yeah, it shouldn't matter. Realistically, as kids, I think we just, we wanted it to be some other way. As adults, we're like, that shouldn't work.
They're dude. I love it. I love this toy line.
Voltron was his favorite. Now you got a sewer.
Got the sewer set, yeah.
Grim Sword. Yeah. Okay. I'm curious about Grim Sword being in front of
So okay, dude. So this is one of the problems I have with modern figures and them being in the 6-inch scale too. That guy is so heavy that when he falls, he could break. So he's
Oh yeah,
leaning up
no.
against the firehouse there because he's so heavy.
It is. It sinks. And here's some more boxes. I love that you kept the boxes. That's cool. There's
Yeah,
boxes for me. That's one of those things that if I had the space, I would do it. I have to be really diligent about my
of course,
space.
of course.
And here's your Transformers collection.
That's
Now, most of this
the
is modern, right?
that's all modern. I'm not a big fan of the vintage as much as I praised playing with them. I would much rather have Transformers that look like the cartoons. So this is all from the movie. This shelf is all the 86 movie figures.
Okay. And here's your Sectar section
Yeah.
with the
Badass.
puppets.
Badass toy line.
Yeah, it's nice that it's coming back. We'll see what they do, the puppets. I really hope they do. That would be cool.
I agree. I saw a couple of the figures in Canada, the Stellara, who's the female that never got made. She's $59 on the card.
Oof.
And I held it in my hand and I'm like, I want her because they prototyped her back in the day and they never made her.
Yeah.
So finally, Nacelle is putting them out. And there's no offense to Nacelle at all. I get it. It's an independent toy company, but $70 for a figure?
Yeah.
No chance.
I I buy $70 figures. They're called Mofex,
Well, that's what I mean.
and
You're getting into the high end stuff, right? Like,
and,
let's
and
just
they're
like,
they're called high-end Mythics and Cosmic Legion figures when we get into
yeah,
that level.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
too much for me anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. I get it. And this is your Thundercats.
Yeah, vintage into the Super 7. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's everything. Yeah, there we go. All right. I think that was everything. I don't know what's happening there.
that's
It's
good.
just spinning.
It's
So,
it's amazing that was shot like a year ago or whatever, and it's like so different now. Like, hey, I don't have that anymore. Or, hey, where's that other thing? It's funny.
well, at least it gave us a view into kind of your toys.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's cool.
when you go to get it, let's say you're going to look at a line to get, do you um, look for established franchises, or have you ever tried like dabbling into what are you doing,
Cute.
little Miss Thing?
Making
Do
this
you dabble
no.
into like any independent toys?
You mean like Mythic Legions, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
I don't really have any rules, man. Unfortunately, I like everything. So if it catches my eye and it makes sense, I like direction with a line. Um, One reason I loved the Origins line that came out a couple years back from Masters, I saw the direction they were going. One reason I dislike G.I. Joe Classified so much is because they don't know where they're going. So for me to invest my time and money into it, I have to know where the toy line is going. So I'd say Mythic Legions is great for doing that. I'm not opposed to anything. If it looks cool, I'll entertain it for sure.
So was there ever a time that you weren't collecting and or have you just continuously collected since you said, you kind of were that?
I always have. My mom saved all my toys for me. I wanted to do the classic thing. I'm a teenager now. I gotta get some beer. I want to go get some McDonald's. We could have a yard sale. I could sell all this stuff. She would never let me. She's like, nope. I'm gonna put these in boxes in the basement. Thank God she did. Right. So
Yeah.
there was that time period when you're discovering girls and you're getting into comic books, and buying toys is not so you're not supposed to do that anymore, right? So there was like a few years after high school that I didn't. But I would say when McFarlane started to come out strong, when they were starting to do the adult stuff like the movie Maniacs, 99 2000 is when I got back into it. And I was like, okay, well, Todd McFarlane says it's cool to buy Jason figures. So now I guess we're allowed to do that, right? Got to give us the
Yeah.
okay.
So you said that you really don't have any collection rules per se, other than it has to kind of make sense. Well, what makes something quote unquote make sense?
Um, so one reason I don't collect the Mythic Legions is because I don't know if there is or where to get the story. right? I've heard that there's stories for the characters and all that kind of stuff,
It
but
is.
there's got to be a story. I guess nowadays it would be a comic book or a film franchise, TV show, whatever. The story enhances the toy. The toy doesn't stand on its own 2 feet very well without that backstory. It's got to have a good backstory.
So your collection kind of has both in the box and out of the box. What determines when something gets to breathe versus when something has to stay in the box?
Oh, that's a great question, dude. I have what's called the rule of two, which I totally ripped off of Star Wars. But for me, if it's affordable to get, and I'm not the only one who does this, right? But it's like you buy
No.
one to have in the box and one to open.
Yeah.
Again, since I love card art so much, if it's a figure that's very toyetic and I want to shoot it and pose it and all that stuff, and the card art's great, you got to buy two. Warduke's fantastic. The NECA one, the card art's great, and the figure, even though you can still see it, I still bought two. So it just depends, really.
Okay. So, are there any things that you don't do with your toys currently that you'd like to do?
Such as, like, give me an
Such
example.
as customize or build dios or
Oh, not really.
do
The
more
cut.
photographs.
Yeah, I don't do toy photos as much anymore. Just with diving headfirst into YouTube as much as I have, there's no time to do that. I love doing it. Dioramas and stuff, I would love to do that, but you can only take on so much, right? But I get to live, guys like you, guys like Chad, our good buddy, it's Chad. I love to see the stuff you guys do. So it's okay. We don't all have to do everything, right?
So, for you, what, why toys and what do they represent for Jay Bartlett? So, what are the toys meaning to you?
Physical representations of things that do not exist in real life.
For me, this
Yes.
represents an active coping skill for me. So, this is how I manage my anxiety, stress, depression,
Ah,
whatever is currently. It's a physical manifestation of those internal workings.
interesting.
What I do with my collection is how I process that on a day-to-day basis. So when you talked about kind of the lore of something is what draws you to it. Um, does a lore changing? Let's say that they bring out a new iteration and they change the lore of what you've long held dear and close to your chest and you hate it.
Yeah.
Does that kind of affect your collecting?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And we'll try and not use Star Wars as the example. It's tough to do that, but Luke Skywalker, he's from Return of the Jedi. He's on my friggin' arm. Like, that's everything to me, right? That
Yeah.
character is everything. So what they did to Luke, at first I thought, okay, that's kind of neat. And then after, it's just a mess, right? So we got to remember that it's okay to not like parts of something, right? So we can
Yeah.
like Star Wars, and if you don't like the prequels, if you don't like the sequels, that's okay. You still have the three originals. Nothing will ever change that, right? But if they're gonna, keep trashing Luke and all this stupid stuff and all the stuff they do with Han, I don't have to keep buying it.
Yeah.
But I learned to let go of that stuff. That stuff really used to affect me in an unhealthy way, because it's like I can't believe they're ruining my series, and it's like, first of all, it's not my series, and second of
Yeah.
all, it doesn't
I
change
think
what.
that's where people get they feel like they own it because they grew up with it, and
It's a little weird.
it's
Yeah.
my it is that's that weird dynamic that we get as adults. It's an interesting thing, and it's one of those things is like you said, you have to learn to let go. It's not yours anymore.
Yeah,
Like if my
yeah,
kids, they my oldest boy, he grew up in a time where that version, the current Star Wars sequels are what his generation will call Star Wars.
sure.
Our generation is the first three, and then my daughter, who's 24, her generation would be the prequels.
Some pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
So there's that interesting just a few years difference in seeing how that they process those kind of things. So are there any vintage lines that you would like to see redone today with modern aesthetics?
I mean, we did a show about member berries a couple weeks ago, and I'm really getting to a point in my life where I think it's okay just to let things go or leave them in the past, right? So, mask would have been the first thing that came to my head, but it's like you and I just said, like an hour ago or whatever. It's like, do we really want that? Do we really want them to like? Sometimes it's just good just to leave something there and to enjoy it for what it was, and that's okay. It kind of kiboshes your question, I guess.
No,
But
it doesn't. It's very much in line with what I was going for.
yeah, like I'm more concerned with the fact that future generations aren't going to know what GI Joe is. They're not
Yeah.
going to know, man, because it's still shipwreck that people. It's oh god, I get shipwreck, and he's got to look exactly the same as he did in 1985. It's like GI Joe was always an evolving line,
Yeah.
and now it's like we are the ones responsible for not passing it on, and that to me is horrifying, really.
I think any line that stays evergreen has to evolve and change
But they
at
won't
least enough,
they won't do it, and it's
but
terrible.
it still has to stay in that, pseudo bubble of nostalgia, but not like the first few figures, they were definitely a step away for
Yeah,
classified.
yeah,
And
I mean,
for whatever reason, I don't have an issue with those figures at all.
no, neither do I.
I don't.
Yeah.
They look okay. They look good. I like the Scarlet. I do. I like the Duke. I like the Roadblock. It doesn't bother me that they have shin armor or whatever. I mean, the guns are ridiculous, but other than that,
The guns were silly, but I mean, wouldn't it be cool to see Duke with like an eye patch, like his eyes missing, or like he's
there,
got
yes,
gray hair and a trench coat, or just like that these characters have been through a lot.
yeah,
And then you get the first wave, it's Duke and Scarlet, and then you get Grenade Man and Fire Floor guy,
yeah,
right? I mean, just
exactly,
two new
something.
guys, so two legacies and two new, and build your brand that way. So guys like us are like, oh, thank God, Duke's here, and then you kind of slowly introduce the new characters. That's what
Yeah.
they should do, but they
Well,
won't.
I'm always excited to see a new character, even if it's something like the Mole Rat. The Mole Rat is great.
Sure, yeah, I'll always open new ideas. As ridiculous as it is, I would rather them take chances on characters that maybe aren't received that well, but they're
Yeah,
brand new. I'd rather do that than buy my seventh Hawk.
yeah. I don't need 25 Snake Eyes.
Yeah, and yeah, Sick Guy's overrated anyway. But
Yeah, I know it's ridiculous. So, has there been any times where you have had what we would call buyer's remorse or regrets when you bought something?
many, so many times, so many times, and you've been through my channel through the toy stuff, and I did a video called
Mhm.
Hasbro Enough is Enough. It's one of my biggest videos I've ever done, but it's when I bought a really interesting character named Cobb Vanth, who was in The Mandalorian. I think he was in Boba Fett. It was Timothy
Yeah,
Oliphant's character. I love
yeah,
that character. And I never found the Black Series version of him, but my buddy did. He called me from Toys R Us. He's like, dude, they got Cobb Vanth. Do you want it? Right off the bat, yes, please. Didn't ask him how much, whatever. So he comes to my house a few days later with the receipt. It was like $67
Ugh, yeah.
because he was 59. Our tax is 13%, which is atrocious enough. Forget the tax. The thing's 59, right? And he's deluxe, meaning that they put the Boba Fett backpack beside him so they could
Yeah.
expand the bubble. That moment, dude, that's when everything changed.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's so strange because you know how so much of that line is just eaten by royalty fees. It's the
Wow.
same
Yeah.
thing with I mean, if you're talking, there's a percentage of those lines that they when they do the Marvel stuff and the Star Wars stuff, it's got royalties that come with it. So
Sure.
those right off the top, you're going to lose accessories and anything. And when they call it deluxe, it needs to be a deluxe figure. It needs to have more than one accessory to call it a deluxe. I mean, that's
I always wondered what the criteria was for that. Sometimes you'll get like little explosions, plastic like
yeah,
explosions and stuff like that. It's like, really? Like you're gonna charge me like the Gamorrean guard? I think because he had fur for his like pants or whatever. It's like that was
yeah,
a deluxe figure. I'm like, okay.
yeah. I got that one for my son. He likes pigs, so
It's a great figure, dude. It's a great figure, but it's too expensive.
yeah.
And
I don't I have almost no Star Wars left in my house. I sold my entire collection,
yeah,
vintage.
yeah.
I had a boxed Boba Fett from 1979, 12-inch,
Oh wow.
complete
That's
with
nice
the
for you.
backer card in the box. Sold it. Sold my Chewbacca, which had the same thing, just didn't have the backer. Um, and then I sold my all of my vintage figures. I had a vinyl case from The Empire Strikes Back, and then I had the Darth Vader case
Right.
full of figures, and then I had a Empire Strikes Back Millennium Falcon with the box, and I sold all that, and that kind of funded some of my collection since then. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
that's what we
ultimately,
kind of do.
sometimes franchises will go too far, and I've seen it a lot of times where it really influences how you feel about the old stuff. And I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. Star Wars is a lot of the fans of Star Wars. I'm not a fan of. The people are so insane for it. I used to be one of them. Okay. And I realized one day how stupid it was because I spend more money because I watch the movies longer. That doesn't mean I'm a bigger fan, right? And
Yeah,
you get that a lot in Star Wars fandom. It's just I don't know. Just having to prove how big of a fan you are, it's something I think is laughable, especially at our age, man. It's like, come on, dude. Like
I am super fan. Wee, super fan.
it's like go back to high school. It's like, oh man, Kiss or Motley Crue. It was always the
Yeah,
fight. It's like,
yeah, exactly. So, do you ever experience one of the things that I find that there are times, and I've only been back collecting since 2022, but I still there's times when I'm just like I'm just not feeling it. You ever experience that kind of burnout, that moment where it's just like, yeah, I don't want anything else right now.
all the time. The Target exclusive GI Joe classifieds were what killed that line for me. And the anxiety I would get whenever I heard there was going to be a whatever it's called, PulseCon or the live
Yeah,
events they have. I would get like in my stomach start to feel sick because I'm like, okay, now there's that pressure of having to pre-order this character, and it's so dumb, dude. Like, if you could finally free yourself from that, not you, I just mean anyone who has that, like
anyone,
I
yeah,
did. If you can
in
let that
general,
stuff go, then you
yeah,
can love collecting again. But it's crazy the pressure we put on ourselves to try and impress people that we'll never see.
yeah. I don't.
Weird, right?
It's supposed to be fun. What we do
Yeah, yeah.
every day is supposed to be fun. If it stops being fun, don't do it. It's the old adage of the guy going to the doctor, and he tells the doctor, every time I do this, it hurts. And the doctor looks at him and goes, "Stop doing that then."
Yes, it's really
It,
that
it,
easy. It's really
It
that easy.
really is that easy. If it's
Yeah.
not making you happy and you're angry about it all the time, let it go. It's not worth keeping it around.
Yeah. So then I would
So
get, so then I started to add game stuff this time last year to my channel. Then everyone was not coming at me, but they're like, "Oh, so you don't like toys anymore?" I'm like, "Dude, my whole career is toys and video games. I just added the video games to the channel." But I will say, like, buying new stuff, you've heard me say this a million times. It's almost ground to a halt because it's too much money, man. I didn't sign up for this stuff.
yeah.
So I would rather put that money towards vintage any day.
Well, and if it makes you happier, that's where you should put your money, right?
Yep. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
there's I think we all get kind of set in our ways and we can't really make that flexibility where we can pivot and go, you know what, this, and be objective and be aware enough to go, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
It's not making me happy. I'm just doing it to do it.
And
It's kind of the epitome of the person in completely inbox collector that's holding on to it for posterity's sake or to pass it on to their kids. And I'm just like, yeah, you do know that that's not like likely to happen, but okay, I'll let you do it. I'll tell you to do it if that makes you happy. But that to me just sounds like storage bins and
I
stuff
think
hanging in an
yeah,
attic. That doesn't
I'm
sound
not
like something that's making you happy.
I'm not one to say there's a right or wrong way to display your collection, but I think if you're at a point where you're renting storage or you have all your stuff in storage bins, I don't see how you can enjoy that. So I think if you're at that stage, maybe it's time to learn how to let some stuff go. I mean, this stuff to me, like even the game posters that I have framed, they're pieces of art that people have shot or painted. Do you know what I mean? So it's like for me, it's like I want to see this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't just want to like a catalog on my phone where I know I have these figures.
Yeah, it doesn't. I just to me when they tell me that they stuck everything in boxes, and I've just they put it in. Yeah, you don't see it, you don't know, you don't play with it, you don't get it out, you don't.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah, it's
it's just there. There's a fine line in that kind of collecting to hoarding. It's a really fine line, and they thread it.
yeah.
I mean, just to me, it's weird, but if it makes them happy, if it makes you happy, and you're not hurting anybody by doing it, go for it.
I also there's something to be said for wherever your toys are, right? I came to this realization like a year ago, pretty much when I did that video that you're showing stills of, when you just go down there and you sit back and you can just say, you know what, I'm happy. I'm happy with this. Look at all this, all these things I've collected my entire life. This is good. Instead of constantly chasing the next, oh, Tunnel Rat's coming out and the new Optimus Prime's coming out. It's like, well, I have 4 Tunnel Rats here. When I get this 5th one, I'm going to want a 6th one. Yeah,
Mhm.
it never ends. So if you could just sit back and look at your collection and be like, this is awesome, and just enjoy what you have, right?
Well, yeah, but also one of the benefits of vintage collections is once you have the figures and the vehicles and the play
Yeah,
sets, there are no more.
there is an
There's a
end.
finite number,
Yeah,
right? It
yeah.
doesn't continue to grow.
It's nice. It's
So
nice there's
there's
an end.
that completion satisfaction kind of moment where you're like, ah, I have done this. It is
Yeah,
great. It is mine.
yeah.
So, in that vein, I ask what's called the magic question of collecting. Um, it's a very simple question.
Okay.
If space and money weren't an issue, what would you collect and why?
If space and money weren't an issue, what would I collect? I don't want to give you a boring answer, but I collect everything that I love already. I don't know if there is something that I've wanted in my life, I've worked and saved for it. Maybe old arcade cabinets, but even at that, I think they're grossly overpriced for what they are, and the maintenance on those is a nightmare. I don't know, man. I honestly don't know.
If we
Maybe
had a
more guitars, maybe. Maybe.
So, is there ever a time that you see yourself not collecting?
Wow, that would be a real change. Even when I was a kid, opening the Star Wars figures, I didn't want to throw the boxes out. I don't know why. It's just
I'm
the
right
way
there.
I've always
I'm right
been.
there with you. I found out after my mom finally copped to it about, I don't know, sometime in the last year. She finally copped to saying she was the one throwing out my boxes.
Oh, mom, bad mom, bad mom.
She's
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, I just threw them out when you weren't home."
you're like,
I always thought maybe I was just being absent-minded and didn't remember where I put them yet.
damn it. Um, well, I mean, I don't think I'll ever stop collecting. I don't think collectors can do that. Slow down, absolutely. I've slowed down in everything because again, you look around and it's like enough is enough, you know. To a certain degree. Like I don't want it to come across like I don't collect toys anymore because everyone freaks out when I say that. But it's got to be something brand new. If it's brand new, it's got to be something really special now for me to pick it up. In vintage, I'm still trying to finish the original Hasbro Joe line, which will take an entire lifetime, and that's super fun. And I'm okay with that.
Well, and then you got all the variations. You got the plastoramas. You got the, fun schools. You've got all of those
Yeah. Yeah.
Argentinian versions of of Airborne called Condor.
And don't get me wrong, I still will buy a classified here and there. What was the last one I got? Well, Chad gave me Falcon, but for whatever reason, I couldn't find Falcon here, so he sent me one. Um, had he not, I would have bought Falcon just because I love Falcon, right? So I know he looks hideous, but still, I still
Yeah,
would have
that
got
I
it.
yeah. No, my Falcon's head is Batman versus Superman, Henry Cavill.
Oh, okay, that's good. I
It
never thought of that
works.
one. Yeah,
It works. A little bit of
dude. Well,
modification. It fits in there.
you being a customizer, I would expect that it would look 20 times better than what Hasbro did. That monstrosity that Hasbro did.
Knowing what I know about what happened with that and the factory switch and everything else that kind of snowballed on that figure, it was hopefully we'll get a resculpt of the face.
What
I have a
happened?
feeling it will.
I never heard that story.
They okay to bring out the starting lineup figures. They moved the Joe factory. Well, the guy who was working on Falcon didn't get it in time.
Oh, okay.
Now it may be designed by Lenny. It's not all of the things are done by Lenny. He may give them the thing and they assign it to independent contractors, and apparently this contractor didn't come through. So
We could say that again.
yeah, that's why it looks the
Everyone's
way it did.
everyone says he looks like Matt Damon, but I think he looks like
It's
George
more like
McFly a little bit
I
because
was. It's more like America. What is it? What is it? World Police America, whatever the hell that.
oh, Team America. Yes. Yeah. It looks like one of
World
those
Police.
marionettes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's what his face looks like more than anything.
100%.
Yeah, so it was awful. So before we go, I have one last question, and then we'll kind of talk. To
Sure.
let you tell everybody where to find you. Um, this is the most important question because it's the one thing that coming back to collecting did for me. It allowed me to find some joy back in my life. It had been a long time
Sure, dude. Yeah.
with everything that was going on. It was, life was kicking me in the ass in every way that I could. So I make it a point now every day to find something to be grateful for or to find happiness with. So today, what did you find joy
Wow. Okay, today what that's great, dude. I love your show's very positive. You have a lot of great positive messages that make you think. I like that. Um I figured out a chord in the song I'll Stick Around by Foo Fighters that I was trying to learn on guitar. I has this one chord I couldn't figure out the fingering. I found that out today. And hearing myself play that out of an amp or just out of the strings, it's like it's incredible. That and The satisfaction of having Maggie die in The Walking Dead by Shane was so awesome. There you go. There's two things there. It's the simple things, man. It's the simple
It's the
things.
simple things. I did see that. And Matthew's pretty much right. Yeah, they screwed it up. They were late. And then I guess this is another thing because they talked to Lenny more. The process of molding it distorted the sculpt even further. That's just bad. And
So
I
do you
get it.
think because there's so many Falcons out there, like they didn't do a recall? Like I think us Falcon fans deserve like another Falcon. And I'm not gonna wait tonight for it.
There'll be another one. I promise. There'll be another one. You know that there'll be another head somewhere. And, you could always, third party ramen. He might do one, sort of.
For us guys who aren't customizers, I could find just like a Marvel Legend and pull his head off, right? Like I'm sure there's a ton of Marvel
Yeah,
Legends that just have regular
get
face.
get you some blue sticky tack, and
Yeah.
it'll work.
Yeah.
I have a Tony Stark head on one of my grunt blanks.
Oh, you don't like Grunt? You don't like Grunt's face
No, I
model?
have grunt as a grunt, but I have three.
Oh, I
So I have
gotcha.
one is the steel core head, and then this third one is basically it looks like a Tony Stark with his pimp stash.
That's cool. Very cool.
So, but tell everybody where they can find you and what you got going on.
Oh, hi, I'm on YouTube. Right alongside Aaron here, you can find me. My name is just Jay Bartlett. That's it. You just search that. There's one that comes up, and he's an exorcist. That's not me. I am the video game and the toy guy.
Are you sure? Are you
Yeah,
sure?
yeah. It's an ongoing joke. So yeah, guys, if you like toy stuff, video game live streams. I'm a big live streamer. I'm live a lot. That's usually the bulk of the content. But I try and do a produced video here and there when I can. So come on by. It's just my name, Jay Bartlett. I would appreciate it.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about before you leave and before we go is the action figure adventures and the children's thing. Now, I know you just did season 2, and the DVD
Yeah.
came out fairly recently, right? You guys, is there a season 3 kind of happen?
Action figure adventure, possibly. We're in the middle of shooting Nintendo 64 Quest right now, which is our next. So we'll be I'm gathering those games if I can in the allotted time, and those will be auctioned off for the Alzheimer's Society. That's what my mom passed away from, and so that's what we're going at. So I think that's the charity we're going to be going for. So never say never. We want to do a season 3, but it's all if our partners at Jinx want another Jinx TV in Canada if they want another season. So we'll have to see.
Well, I can say that honestly, before I even actually started watching you on YouTube, I saw action figure adventure. So
Oh, cool, dude. Yeah.
it was an interesting moment because it was like, oh, okay, that's who that is.
That's a long hair freak.
But it was the thing is that one of the big things that as I said, I practice joy and gratitude is with the group of people that I hang out and gravitate toward on YouTube. We do a thing called an act of kindness. It may seem silly, but if someone can't find this thing, or if that thing will help them find it one way or the other,
That's great.
well, we'll purchase it, mail it to them. They'll whatever, that's kind of what we do. So I always appreciate someone else doing good in the world. So
Oh,
I
thanks,
just
dude.
wanted
And
to let you
yeah,
know that.
I'm big fan of the content here. I really I wasn't sure what to expect, but your channel's great. And I can't thank you personally enough for always hanging out with me, popping in on all the streams. So it means the world, dude. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy the content. But with that, everybody, we're going to say goodnight. I'm going to see you all next Friday. I believe Cobweb Collector will be with me. We will find out. I'm supposed to let him know this weekend again. He's supposed to say yes because he's already said yes. But life happens.
He's
Worst
booked.
case scenario, you get a
Eh,
whole week of me. Oh, that'll be thrilling. With that, if you can be anything, be kind.